Oh hey, welcome back to the Chaos Club. On this episode I'm going to get serious with my wiring. I'm going to get right into a T56. There's going to be a lot of racing coming up, so if you haven't hit subscribe, give it a go, because hopefully I'm actually making a fair bit of power. Got a dyno session coming up soon. Heathcote track is getting a heap of work done. There's going to be roll racing and all sorts of stuff. So with any luck, I'm going to get a few issues sorted out and see if I can't go fast with the Turbo Ls, stick shift, untubbed radial car. Doing it the hard way, but that's the way I am, so stay tuned. Give you a bit of a demonstration. It's always been a little bit notchy to get it into gears, but that's first. Just to try and get it into reverse. We'll go fifth. We'll jam it across real quick. There we go. I've managed to get reverse. It's pretty difficult. I'm not sure if the clutch is dragging a little bit or something else. I've got that box in bit, so I'll try and sort that out now. Thought I'd start off with the simple things. Checked all the shifter out. Things are a little tiny bit worn. It's been in there for a while, but can't see anything that'll be causing any real issues with that. Thought I'd dig a bit deeper again. This is a plug I've made up for the reverse lockout solenoid, because that's not in there. It is protruding out, probably about that much further than it needs to. So I may look at trimming that back. Couldn't see anything too obvious with that, so I'd drain the oil, and it did look a little bit metallic-y. So I've gone ahead and pulled the extension housing off. You can see up in here, that gets me to reverse in 5th and 6th. And what I've noticed just down here on the magnet was one of these little keys, or half of one of these little keys. So this is the reverse gear set off my spare gearbox. So you can see these little keys, and that's what I found half of. So unfortunately, all the little keys are still in this one. So this is the one that was in it, and it looks burnt because this came out of the gearbox that I got that had been in an accident and been on fire. And the reason I used that was because the original gearbox I bought, the bearing inside reverse had collapsed. So it was in a pretty bad way. That's all working. There's no, all those little keys are here. So the bad news from that is that it's inside the main portion of the gearbox where one of these keys, half of one of these keys has come from. So unfortunately, I'm gonna have to pull the rest of the box and pull it all down. So we're in the deep end now. Let's done a bit more investigating. Found, where are we? Look down here, right there. Should be the end of that key. There's the other ones. So there we go, missing that one. Which is odd, because I've never had any trouble with that gear shift before. Anyway, I'll sort that out. Got the broken one there, and I've just grabbed a one of the keys out of the spare gearbox over here that I've got to part. Yeah, should be able to get that back in there, get it all back going again. Easy. So box is all back together. I've replaced that broken key out of the 3/4 shift. Seems to be selecting all its gears pretty well. Goes into reverse, no problems here. Just check the tolerant clearance on that reverse lockout. So you can see I've got a fair bit of clearance there on my bung, but might give it a little bit more just because I can. Otherwise, can't really find too much else wrong with it. The reverse gear isn't fantastic. It's definitely not brand new. It's had its teeth brushed a couple of times, but I've flipped the ring on it and put that back in. It might help a little bit with any luck. Blocker ring and all that all seems fine. I had that other gear that had spun the bearing on the inside. I was considering trying to machine it, but with the needle roller bearing running on the inside of that, if anything goes wrong with that, it'll be chew out the output shaft, and that'll be a bin job for the rest of this. So I'm gonna chuck it back in and see if that gets me a few more passes. That might hopefully hang together to get me the number I want. doesn't have enough traction to blow this one up just yet. Hasn't so far anyway, but we'll see what happens if I can actually get all the power that the thing can make and actually put it down. So that's where I'm at now. We'll get it together and see how it goes. Rightio, just been out the road for a squirt, tested all out. Went through all the gears, not too bad. Reverse, still no good. It was mildly better. Can get it in, but it's basically exactly the same as it was before. So that seems like that might have been some good practice for when I get some quality bits to put in there. So serves me right really. It's nearly 40 degrees here today, so it's over 100 degrees Fahrenheit I think. And guess what I've been doing? Pulled the gearbox out again. So this time going over the clutch, having a bit of a look and seeing what's going on. Just trying to find any damage or anything obvious. There's nothing too major. You can see it's got a bit of wear and that on it. It's been a little bit hot, but that's to be expected I think. I don't think there's anything too much there I need to worry about. Cleaned everything. I'm going to check it, sit it back on there with the clutch alignment tool, make sure everything's free. Just check the throw out and make sure that's all working right, and I'll see if I can find whatever the issue might be there. But you might be able to see in the background, got a little bit going on over here. I've made a decision on the wiring. Got a bit serious about it all of sorts. I've just gone for the Holley Terminator X, and there's a couple of reasons for that. I did look at my options with the Heltec and the Nexus, and a few other things, the Elite packages and all that. But what I've decided on was to go with the Terminator, and that is because it's going to do what I need. They seem to be very successful. They're doing very well in racing everywhere. Also, it should be a lot more simple for me, because as you can probably tell, I'm a bit of a jack of all trades. Tuning and things is definitely not one of my strong points. And when I get to the races, I'm not there with anyone else that's helping me tune. It's just going to be me. So it comes with a touchscreen that I can do everything on. It does come with a wiring loom. However, I've adding a few more sensors and a few different things, and I'm going to enlist the help of SM Motorsport Wiring. Stuart from there is an absolute gun. This is all he does. He specialises in race cars and the like. And we've had a bit of a talk about it. And by the time we, with the Holley, you get all these little adapters for things and all sorts of different stuff. The looms on them, they're built to a price. They're not the best, definitely by far not the best you can get. Different power things. I've got extra sensors that come with little pigtails. So they're just more solder joints. Every little thing you got to do is a solder joint. So what we're going to do is, so we won't use any of that. We've got a unterminated loom coming, so that'll have everything in there. I'll be able to add all my additional things, do away with a lot of joins and a lot of other issues. You can see the amount of stuff that I've pulled out of that doesn't need to be in there. I'm going to find a use for this pretty soon. You can probably think where that might end up. But all these little switches, all this stuff is all going to be gone. Stupidly, I've had mechanical fuel pressure gauge in my center console, so high pressure fuel plumbed into my car. Not smart. So I'm going to do away with all that stuff, and it's going to be a whole lot better. I'm hoping I don't have to pull the box down again, but there's a good chance I might. I've only done it a couple of times, so I might see if I can get some parts. I did just put it back with all those bits, so it might not be ideal. So I've just been going through and adding all the additional sensors that I'm going to want to run. I've got a sensor here, extra pressure sensor here for EMAP. I've got that plumbed into the exhaust manifold there. See some high quality refrigeration plumbing I've used there. All bits and pieces I found lying around the shed. I've also put a sensor in underneath here for engine coolant pressure. I'm going to relocate the ECT sensor to the back, get that away from the turbo because I had nothing but dramas with that. Just waiting on some fittings, got to go and pick up the sensor for the fuel pressure, which will go down the back of there. I've got a 3.5 bar map sensor that it'll be tapped into the back. So with any luck, everything should be a lot neater, a whole lot more reliable, and then translate to being faster. Another little addition I've made down here is the timing pointer. Troy from War Speed again's hooked me up with one of them. I think it's a Mighty Mouse timing pointer. So I've spent some time with a piston stop in there, and found my top dead center mark. I'll give you the hot tip: spend the money on buying one of them before you put the engine together and put it in the car, because that was a nightmare trying to get all that in there with all this crap in the way. But I got it done, and now hopefully, because I've had trouble last time I was on the dyno lifting heads and whatever, had timing that probably shouldn't have done it. There was debate because these are Sandcast 853 heads that have been CNC ported. Not something anyone would do usually, but it's just something that happened. So there's always debate about whether it was the heads or the timing or something that's doing it. So as everyone will tell you on Facebook, you need to verify your timing. If we lift the heads this time or whatever, we'll see. I might chuck another set of heads on it yet. Be nice to crack the 1000 horse at the tyres. Everyone else seems to do it, no problems. Right, I'll torque them up and just make sure I've still got no dragging issues on that bottom plate to start. Happy days. Alright, next plate going on. They've already been marked. Top for top plate. Flywheel side. Came like that. Try and do it all one-handed and film, just to make life easy. Yep. The pressure plate on next. It's been marked. It comes from the factory with a mark on it there. Lines up with all the corresponding marks. Makes it pretty hard to get wrong. And say as I get it wrong. Yep. There you go, pressure plate's all on, all torqued up. Going over it to check the clutch fingers. There's nothing funny going on with any of them. They all seem to be sitting pretty good. Just got to check the clearance now. So while everything's apart, I've put a new clutch slave cylinder on there. I'm pretty sure the box is still going to be tight, but at the moment I've just got to get it together so I can get it to Stewart's, get it wired up, and then I'll worry about it afterwards. Still tossing up Magnums or 6060s, I don't know, see what happens. Don't really want to remake my tail shafts again, but get a bit sick of blowing things up too. I got my new concentric slave on here. Before I put it in, I'm going to see if I can take some measurements and see if I can learn anything about that. I've got it's got a spacer in the back of this one to make up for the spacer between the bell housing for the starter motor conversion. So there could be differences in clearances here and there. So I'm going to I'll take that off with a twist and a pull. Put that back on there. And now I can measure my my in and out for the concentric slave. It's only going to be fairly crude, but it'll be better than nothing. I'm just going to use a straight edge and a pair of verniers and get an average across the front of the face of the throwout bearing back to the gearbox. I'll get an average and then I'll use whatever measurement is pretty right in the middle of these two. It's by no means a precision way of measuring things, but it's better than nothing. So I've got an 88.92 there, 87.48. Add them together, divide them by 2 will give me an average, and that'll give me my compressed height of the throwout. Alright, so I've spent ages going over my measurements, double checking, triple checking, making sure everything's right. And what I'm supposed to have is a bit of clearance when this is all the way back versus the distance from the face of this to the clutch fingers. And that's so that this isn't riding against the clutch fingers with no extra travel, because that could obviously cause it to slip. As the clutch wears, the fingers come back out a bit further. So I've put the old slave back on there too and measured it and come up with the same thing. I've got this spacer in under here for the starter motor conversion that came with the kit. What I might do is I'll take this back off now and I'll machine some of that off until I get this within spec. It's meant to be between I think it's 3/16 and an eighth of an inch, whatever that means in English. I think it's about 3.4 to 4 point something millimeters, so in metric. So I'll take that off and I'll machine that and see if I can get that right. The problem I've got with the gearbox, and I'm worried about all this, is that it's I think it's dragging. So this would cause me the opposite problem where it would be slipping and wear out quicker, but whatever. I'll get it within spec before I put it together, and then that's something else I can cross off. I've got the spacer all crudely machined up. I'm going to put that back on now. I've allowed for a little bit of wear in the clutch because it's not brand new. Hasn't done a heap of work, but there's going to be some wear on it. So I haven't gone for the full crush. But hopefully we're somewhere a bit closer. So if my calculations are correct, I should have about pretty close to 4 millimeters of crush, which I think is in the spec. So I'll give it a go, done it now, see what happens. So we got it all back together. Just going for a big test drive, backwards and forwards. You can get these off eBay for $99, or I paid $200 for one for some reason. It's probably about time I just chuck another one on just in case. Flared the clutch up. Seems to be going in better. Forwards. Reverse, still a little bit tight, but it's working. Excuse me wiring, I'm trying to get everything ready for Stu, getting rid of as much of the things that don't need to be in the way as possible. The young bloke reckons it's a bit loud. Anyway, we'll see how that goes. That might have to stay in there. Got roll racing coming up soon, with any luck. Hopefully it hangs in there for a little while. Don't really have the spare coin for magnums on top of computer upgrades and rewiring, plus everything else that goes wrong. So anyhow, hopefully that's a win. Alrighty, a bit of a change of scenery. I got the car over to Stuart. Gearbox worked perfect. Stuart had been hustling hard as all week, and he was on track to finish it all tonight before he flew out first thing tomorrow morning. One thing that happened though was this afternoon the government decided to lock us all down because of COVID again, the tennis and whatnot going on. So they're going to close all the borders. Businesses will be shut unless you're in essential services. So that is a huge pain in the bum. I went over there and had a chat with Stuart, and I made the decision. It was my call. It would have been unfair of me to expect him to stay back and to finish it. He would have missed out on his whole holidays. So he's hit the road and he had to make the border by midnight. So I think they're on track for that. He's due back on the 28th. Hopefully. I think he's going to cut his holiday short to come back and try and get me going. If all goes to plan, the dyno's currently booked for the 2nd of March, and racing is at Heathcote on the 6th and 7th of March, if everything is to continue the way it's meant to. So it's going to be a bit of a dramatic timeline, but that's all we've got to work with, and we can't do much about it at the moment. So I'm going to push on at that. So I'm going to wrap this video up there. Give us a thumbs up if you haven't already subscribed. Do that, helps us out, and we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.